Hi, welcome back to my channel. I'm Yoshka.
I'm Julia.
For the second year running, I'm going to be talking about the International Booker Prize, but this time, there's two of us.
Woo!
Yeah, woo! We're very excited.
Yes.
We read all 13 books.
We did.
Some we loved, a number of them we hated.
Yeah, some not so much.
Yeah, a few mediocre books. And we'll run you through each book as we read them, in the order we read them in. We'll give some general thoughts, overview, things like that.
No spoilers.
No spoilers, yeah. We'll try to keep spoilers out, and if we do spoil, we'll keep it to a minimum, and we'll say when. And apart from that, we'll rank all the books at the end, so stay tuned for that. And
We will try to predict the shortlist.
Yes, and we'll be very successful because we obviously have the exact same tastes as the judges this year.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. No, this will be interesting. We're excited. We look forward to talking about everything. If this is popular, we'll be back next year with the third person. So like, subscribe, we'll make it happen.
Yep.
Yeah. Enjoy the video.
Okay, so first let's talk a bit about some of the interesting information about this year's International Booker Prize. So first of all, just the basics. The longlist was announced on the 24th of February, so over a month ago by now. We will be finding out what the shortlist is in 3 days from now, on the 31st of March.
And sorry to interrupt, the interval there is so short now between
shorter.
longlist and shortlist. Last year it was longer, and the previous years it's been longer.
Yeah.
And we've been speaking about this. We think maybe that's not such a great thing for the books that are longlisted
But not shortlisted.
and not shortlisted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's been, I think, a week taken away from there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit unfortunate because if you've not had the time to read all the books on the long list before the shortlist, like we have, you're likely to skip the books that don't end up making the shortlist. And some of those might be more to your taste than others, so it's a bit of an unfortunate administrative change that they've made, we think.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And the winner will be announced on the 19th of May, so a long while away still.
Yeah, ages.
Yeah, ages to go. So this year, the Booker Prize Committee selected 13 out of the 128 submissions they had this year, which is also something that has changed. I think the number is a bit lower than it was last year because of some changes they've made to their inclusion criteria.
Yeah, it seems like it's sort of become much narrower, the books that are eligible. So you end up with lots of repeat authors. We'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, so the books on this long list are translated from 11 languages with authors and translators from 14 different countries, which is quite a wide variety. That's good to see. So this year we're only seeing 3 debut authors on the list. And interestingly enough, out of the 26 authors and translators that have been longlisted this year, 13 have already been nominated for the prize.
So
yeah, 50% have been
shocking.
nominated. Yeah, and 5 author translator pairings have also already been nominated. So there's a lot of Booker favorites, a lot of Booker repeats, and
it's a surprise.
Yeah, we'll see if it's good.
We'll see if it's good. On the one hand, it's nice that these established authors are sort of maintaining momentum with what they're publishing and that they're continuously sort of recognized by the Booker as publishing sort of works of importance. At the same time, we feel that it might be interesting to see previously unrepresented authors be nominated, new authors, new translators, and there's some of that, of course, but 5 out of 13 pairs having previous collaborators is, we were just really surprised by that, taken aback by that. Yeah.
That's pretty surprising. And also another thing that's interesting is that out of the 13 books, 2 have been published in their original languages more than 30 years ago or 30 years ago, those being The Witch and Women Without Men.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting quirk of the Booker, the International Booker, that you can get works from a while back that have just now been published into English in the UK and or Ireland.
And some of the translations are old as well. It's not just that these books were originally published in their original languages sort of decades ago, but it's also that the translations that are now available in the UK were released in, for example, the US in 2012, as was the case for Women Without Men. It's just a bit weird. It's just how the Booker works, but yeah, it's a bit odd to sort of wrap your head around.
Yeah. And the average page count of this year's nominees is quite a bit higher than last year. This year it's 272 pages, last time we checked.
Yeah.
Whereas last year it was closer to 200, I believe. Another difference from last year is that this year we're seeing more of a mix between publishing giants and indie presses. So Penguin has 3 books nominated this year, whereas last year 11 independent presses were
That was surprising.
represented in the list. So that's a bit crazy of a difference. And just some general observations about the prize this year that we have noticed looking through the list initially. First of all, we noticed that it was a very European list this year. So we're not really seeing many books from East Asia, also South America. And similarly, we've also seen that the prize has been mainly comprised of works in major languages. So again, French, German, Dutch, all of that. And because of the European focus, we think a lot of the stories are very much war-centered. So we're seeing...
Big theme this year, war.
So that's interesting to see. Another quirk of this year's list is that 10 out of the 13 books are written by women. And similarly, roughly a third of the books this year in some way deal with themes of queerness. So it's quite cool to see that
it's a very sort of representative list, quite a progressive list. The Booker is always quite sort of at the forefront of political sort of representation, so it's not surprising, but it's always nice.
Okay, so now that we've talked about some of the general details of the International Booker this year, we're going to run you through the 13 books we read in the order that we read them in. To avoid spoilers as to what our final ranking will be.
Yeah, you have to watch everything to know what we thought.
So we're going to give a bit of a plot description for each book. Then we're going to say our thoughts for each one of them.
Give a rating.
Give a rating.
We sort of combined. We mostly felt quite similarly about the books. But we've sort of agreed on a consensus grade for every book.
We had a little bit of a debate about
we had a debate fight argument about what to give them. And then at the very end, after we've done that and looked at all the books, we'll sort of put them relatively to each other in a bit of a ranking. We've already rated them. We'll rank them just to sort of give some perspective, maybe talk a bit more about what we thought.
And we're going to wrap up by telling you what our predictions for the shortlist this year are, which I'm sure will be very much well matched to the actual shortlist.
Perfect track record. Last year I got, 1 right? Something like that?
Did you actually?
I think so.
Oh my God.
Pat myself on the back for that. We have strong opinions this year about our favourites. And we're going to argue for what we think the shortlist should be and also try to predict what it will be.
And we hope to see some of those books on the list.
All would be nice. If the Booker judges are watching.
Yes.
Please. Okay, let's go.
Good. Okay. So the first book we read for this year's prize list was The Nights Are Quiet in Tehran by Shida Baziar, translated by Ruth Martin. So this is a book that was translated from German.
I read it in the original language.
It's originally published in 2016 and it has 272 pages, so just about the average
It's old,
length.
isn't it?
Yeah, it's a bit old.
It's the author's debut novel. I think she's written other things now. It's just curious that her first novel is the one that's translated to English and now sort of on this prize. But curious.
So this book is about a family from Iran. It's a multi-generational saga where we get 4 chapters and an epilogue, and they're all temporally spaced by 10 years.
Yeah.
So each chapter happens 10 years after the previous one.
Yeah, 1979, 89, 99, and 2009.
Yeah.
I think, yeah.
I think so. Yeah. So the first chapter we hear from the soon-to-be father of the family. He's a revolutionary during the time of the Iranian Revolution. Jumping forward to the second chapter, we hear from his wife and the mother of the bunch. And at this point, they are in exile in Germany, and she's dealing with all that entails. Then 10 years later, in the third chapter, we hear from the firstborn daughter of the family, and she describes her first time back in Iran after their political exile and all that experience. And in the last proper chapter, 10 years later, we hear from the second-born son, who really hopes to see some positive change occur in Iran, but also he's just a little bit disillusioned.
Yeah, a bit of a deadbeat.
Yeah. And in the last epilogue, we get kind of a glimpse into the future and a positive outlook on what's likely.
Yeah, a bit of a hopeful spin on the end, I think.
What's hopefully going to happen in the future. Yeah.
And yeah, basically it's just a diaspora novel. It's sort of identity, politics, culture across generations. Quite a typical kind of novel that you might find sort of about, you know, a group of people, a culture living in a different culture and sort of the like almost culture clash. And it's
Yeah, it reminded me a lot of The Lowland by Jhumpa Lahiri. I think it has very similar themes of kind of conflict and the following displacement and all that. So that was quite interesting to see.
Obviously very topical, this novel, given everything happening in Iran the last while, and probably partly why the Booker judges chose to include this book. Not that it's poorly written, but
maybe it's particularly resonant at this time.
It's very resonant. It's sort of, they choose to highlight political issues going on at the moment, and they did this last year as well.
Yeah.
Okay, thoughts about the book?
So generally, I quite enjoyed it. It was a solid book, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I liked it.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was amazing. It didn't blow me away. Thought it was reasonably well written.
Yeah, I thought so.
It had themes, which might sound like a low bar, but
it's not.
We'll see.
Yeah.
It had themes. It explored them fairly well.
Yeah, I think so.
The themes again being sort of culture shock, revolution,
displacement,
sort of political, and then also becoming disillusioned, sort of the way political ideology is almost passed down through generations, and how subsequent generations can become disillusioned from the values of their parents and these sorts of things. And it's nothing super new or super unique, but it's solid. It's quite solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I thought was that this book would probably be a bit tricky to enjoy or appreciate as much without knowledge of Iranian political history, Iranian sort of background about Iran. I have a bit of background about Iran. You probably a bit through me.
Vaguely, yeah.
Vaguely. But I think the book doesn't go out of its way to give you the context. It doesn't go out of its way to explain things to you. It assumes you know the basics, or a bit more than the basics, and can piece together what's happening. I think you can work it out from what's there, but it's probably easier if you go in knowing just a little bit.
Yeah. And another slight complaint we had about this book was that the first 3 voices felt very similar. So the father, the mother, and the first daughter.
Despite being 2 genders and
generations
2 different generations.
Apart, Their voices weren't very distinct, which kind of ties into my overall impression of the book, which is that it is a first novel and it very much feels like a first novel. I feel like the author maybe was still developing her voice at this point. So it just feels, I think that kind of plays into why it wasn't a higher rating.
Yeah, we did like it. It just wasn't outstanding. It was a solid start to the list.
Yeah.
And broadly, we'd recommend, if it sounds interesting, you should read it, but it's probably not anything super revolutionary.
Yeah.
Rating? What do you think? What are we thinking?
We decided to rate this book a 6 out of 10. So
Like a solid 6.
Solid,
Yeah.
good.
Like positive,
start,
it's like
yeah.
basically what we said. It's not groundbreaking, it's not anything crazy, but it's a good book.
It's good, it's solid, yeah. It has themes, it explores them. It's good.
Yeah, next.
Next.
Okay, book number 2 is the other German book on the list,
Yes.
namely The Director by Daniel Kehlmann, translated by Ross Benjamin. And I obviously read this in German as well. Written in German, published in 2023, and it's one of the longer books on the list. It's 352 pages. In German, it's almost 500 pages. The plot follows it's a biographical book following the Austrian filmmaker G.W. Pabst, who directed movies in the, I think, 20s to 50s. And it follows him during the intersection of his career with the rise of Nazism in Europe in the 30s and 40s. The book blends fact and fiction, but it stays mostly true to, if not the letter of reality, but at least the essence of the truth. The broad plot is that G.W. Pabst is a famous filmmaker in Europe. He's made movies in Germany, in Austria, in France. But when Nazism is on the rise in Europe, he quickly flees. He flees to the US, where he quickly finds that he has a lot of trouble with the language. He doesn't speak English. He has troubles finding funding. He has troubles making connections, meeting people, and being given the creative freedom that he wants to make the movies that he wants to make. So after a very unsuccessful stint in the US, he's feeling disillusioned with his environment, he's feeling sort of lost and out of place, and he's there with his wife and his son as well. And then he hears that his mother, who's still living in Austria, which is now called Ostmark, is sick or she has an accident, and he needs to return with his family. And initially they're only returning to go back for a brief stint, for a tiny period of time, just to look after the mother, to check that she's okay. But quickly they become trapped in the country when war breaks out and they can't leave. And this is a bit of a conflict for him, a moral conflict, because he doesn't want to be in Austria and in Central Europe while the Nazis are in power. But at the same time, the Nazis do admire his work as a filmmaker and give him the chance to make the movies that he actually wants to make. They give him the full budget that he wants. They give him cast, they give him crew, they give him everything. So he's stuck in this kind of position of almost wanting to make movies for the Nazis, wanting to make movies for the Nazis, but not wanting to make movies for the Nazis. And the interesting thing is that the Nazis didn't want him to make propaganda movies like some other filmmakers made, like Leni Riefenstahl. Instead, they let him make kind of whatever he wanted, as long as the things depicted in the movie wouldn't explicitly conflict with Nazi ideology. So it's firmly in the movies themselves are firmly in that grey zone where it's unclear how much they're propagandistic or not. But at the same time, him choosing to make these movies for and with the regime, that's kind of the question.
So the story is told in vignettes from different characters in Pabst's life. So we get to hear from his wife, his son, different actors that he works with, etc.
Not all of the stories are directly centered on him, but they're all tangential to sort of life in these various locations at the time, what it was like on set, things like this, to paint the broader picture of how things were sort of in Nazi Germany as an artist at the time.
Yeah. Okay. So our thoughts.
Thoughts.
We both agreed, and basically we both thought it was a really fantastic book.
We loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very surprised.
It was a very compelling read. Very easy to read as well, even though thematically it's very complex, and the vignettes can be, they can be a bit unfamiliar, some of the perspectives. Still, it felt very, very easy to read, and it kind of had that what's going to happen.
Quite a page turner, despite being quite a literary sort of experience. Tonally, the book is, at times, because of the subject matter, of course, quite grim, quite haunting, a bit depressing or intimidating, but also weirdly it was quite a funny book. There's lots of comedic sequences, and not just darkly comedic, some are almost a bit slapstick, which is quite funny and weirdly very suitable for the book.
Yeah, and another interesting note about the book is that even though it is very much a World War II book, it's not typical within its genre. It doesn't really talk about the battles and all that and the conflicts.
It's not about the tragedy
Yeah.
of the war in that sense, or about the atrocities committed and things like that.
Yeah, it's more about the internal conflict of people existing within that time and the moral compromises people were sometimes forced to make. Within that, another thing I enjoyed a lot was the fact that we were presented with very complex situations and very complex characters. And I really appreciated the fact that the narrative didn't fall into the trap of being like, look, this how bad of a person this is, or like, look, this is like an innocent person. It doesn't really take like a very strong stance. It's all very grey. So then you're actually able to think and derive your own conclusions, and there's not really this kind of like judgment of like, yes, this is wrong and this is right, but it's more so for the analysis of the reader and for the reader to just decide what is acceptable.
Yeah, it treats its reader as intelligent enough to be able to think and form opinions about what's being shown. And I mean, mostly the ethical questions are very obvious.
Yeah.
You know, it's pretty clear sometimes when something is right and wrong, but there's a lot of small ambiguities where it's a bit unclear, and the book really does such a great job with what you just said.
Yeah.
We both loved it. It was great.
Yeah. Okay, so what do we rate this book?
We agreed 9.5 out of 10.
Yeah.
Almost a perfect 10.
Yeah, it was really
Just barely
close.
not
Yeah.
quite.
Very good.
We loved it.
Yeah.
I recommend this to pretty much anyone, especially if you're interested in film. It's got lots of film sequences about shooting a film, and they're just done so well, and it's so sort of nuanced and great. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very
we loved
cool.
it. Yeah, next.
Yeah, moving on. The third book we read was The Wax Child by Olga Raun, which is translated by Martin Aitken.
Yeah, this is, in addition to the director, this is one of the two big ticket books on the list that were popular last year,
very
that
popular.
everyone on the internet was kind of talking about.
So this book is translated from Danish. It was originally published in 2023, so quite recent. And it's one of the shorter ones, 192 pages. So in terms of plot, very briefly, it's loosely based on a series of witch trials that took place in Denmark in the early 17th century.
I think so.
As the title implies, the narrator of the book is a little wax figurine of a child made by one of the women who are accused of being witches and are being tried for their potential witchcraft.
Basic, right? Pretty basic plot. Yeah. Not too much to say.
Yeah, not too much. It's also so short, you can't really say too much because you'll spoil it,
What did you think?
I've been wanting to read from this author for quite a while, since the plays was longlisted or shortlisted for the prize a few years back.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't think this was the right one to start with. Yeah. We were both quite disappointed.
We had high hopes.
Yeah, we really had high hopes.
Yeah, like we said, this is a popular book. People are talking about it and broadly quite liking it, thinking it's experimental, that it's interesting, that it has a lot to say about what it's about. So we were both pretty disappointed by this.
Yeah. To start out with the main kind of narrative device that is used. Yeah. You think Wax Child telling a story, it's going to be very interesting and it's going to be somehow unique in some way. But what we found actually is that it was a bit of just like a cheap trick. It was essentially just an omniscient narrator that was like, from time to time was like, hello, I'm a wax child.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's it. It sounds stupid, but that's pretty much it. It's really just an omniscient sort of third-person narrator who occasionally just like refers to itself.
Other comments?
Yeah, the writing style, it's written a bit convolutedly, I would say. It's a bit all over the place. It's using, I'd say, very flowery, descriptive language, but it's not really describing anything. It's kind of one of those books that's very, people would say it's poetic, but it's poetic without substance. It's not really saying anything, not even on a literal level. It's barely describing anything. It's lots of metaphoric sort of statements, talking around things in a way that feels intentionally ambiguous, and that didn't really work for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I also felt like there were so many missed opportunities in this book. So one of the main things is that it's really meant to be about witchcraft.
Yeah,
but
it
you
is.
don't really see a lot of witchcraft. You do sometimes get little, what are they?
Yeah, like spells, incantations.
Spells, yeah.
This is the main thing it did, right? In terms of the like witchiness.
Of the witchiness.
Yeah.
Which obviously are just, they would be considered witchcraft, but they're more kind of like old, like medicinal, traditional things that people used to do. And I think it would have been interesting to see actually maybe more depictions of the women doing things that could either be interpreted as witchcraft or could just be like home remedies for things, which we really didn't see. We really didn't get much of it described.
No, we didn't.
Yeah.
It was very like obvious that the women kind of were witches.
Yeah.
Weirdly enough.
Yeah, I would have liked there to be more of a focus on the uncertainty, whether they actually are witches or whether they're not.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like they're not really, but at the same time they kind of are.
It's a bit muddy. The sort of messaging there is just a bit weird.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if it went either way.
Yeah, and also we thought that thematically it just didn't really say much. Like it's sort of had hues of, female solidarity and what? Well, mainly that. Witch trials are bad.
Yeah, it was very much.
Yeah.
Even though the author, I believe, has said that she went into a lot of depth researching the witch trials that she based this book on, I didn't necessarily feel like there was a lot of that research in the actual book.
Yeah.
I would have liked to learn a bit more about those specific witch trials. That would have been quite interesting.
Yeah, because it features real characters from the Danish witch trials, but it's just very, very half-baked, oddly.
Yeah, there's an attempt to have deeper themes in the story, but they're not really explored that in depth.
Yeah, or at all,
really.
It's this sort of mentioning thing. It just mentions stuff without saying anything really interesting or at all about them. So it was just quite a letdown. I felt really let down.
Yeah, it was so unfortunate, So what's
for that reason, our score, we gave this a 3 out of 10.
3 out of 10.
Yeah, 3 out of 10. Boo.
Did not like this, no.
Well, next book.
Next book.
Okay, the fourth book we read after the failure of The Wax Child was The Duke by Matteo Melchiorre, translated by Antonella Lettieri.
Yeah.
And this is by a pretty new publisher, Foundry Editions, that focus on Mediterranean literature.
Founded
mainly, I
in
think.
2023.
Yeah, very recent.
Very recent, good to see.
Yeah, newer than some of the books on this list.
Yeah.
And this book was translated from Italian, originally published in 2022, and it's one of the longest books on the list, 460 pages.
So what's it about?
And what's this about? Yes, great question. This is about, well, it's set in this tiny, remote Italian mountain village, following this character titled the Duke, and he is a man of nobility, but he's not a duke, he's actually a count. And he's living in this village in his, I guess, ancestral estate. And he's obviously the richest man in the village, and he's mostly dedicating his time to reading his family archives, researching his lineage, looking into his past and his family's past and things like that. Things take a dramatic turn when the unofficial leader of the village steals timber from the Duke's estate, and the Duke needs to decide whether or not he wants to formally or legally respond to this offense. Yeah, from here things spiral out of control.
Yeah.
It turns into this massive feud between the two men, sort of representing different rungs in the social hierarchy.
Like nobility versus self-made.
Yeah, the self-made man. Yeah. And that sort of makes it pretty clear what some of the big themes are. It's sort of about privilege, about
like old money kind of privilege, and whether that's something that still is justifiable in this day. Yeah, what the obligations are of someone who has a lot of privilege.
Yeah.
It's also a book that deals a lot with the natural world. And that's also really interesting.
It's very environmental, actually, sort of pro nature. Be pro nature. Yeah. What did you think?
So I really enjoyed this one. We both felt that it read a lot like a big chunky classic from the 19th century.
It's trying to be like that,
yeah,
isn't it?
It is trying to be like that, and it does succeed. It very much feels like it's like a Count of Monte Cristo kind of revenge story, which makes it very easy to read. It's very
a page turner.
Yeah,
it's thrilling at the end.
Yeah, you want to know what happens.
It's twisty and turny, and it's very plot driven. Like the characters are great and they're well developed, but the plot is sort of what keeps it going. You know, things are always happening. There's always some new development, some new change. Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it as well. I thought it was great.
Yeah, it has some great symbolism as well.
And it's a debut novel, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's
surprisingly,
very
it's very well written. There's a bit of a trend in how we felt about the books relating to how long they are. We tend to prefer books that are longer. Just it gives you more room.
Yeah, there's more space to succeed. Whereas with a short book, you really have so little time to accomplish quite a lot. And sometimes it works really well. Sometimes books can be very succinct and very fantastic. But also a lot of the times they just fall short for some reason. And it's nice to read a tome sometimes.
Yeah, no, it's not.
Not really.
And this is not a tome, but
it's almost.
It's almost. It's a little a tomate.
Tomito.
That's so funny. But no, this had proper themes.
Yeah.
It explored them well. It had nice symbolism, both engaging without being too sort of literary or trying to be too intellectual or anything like that.
It was also really well written. The prose was really fantastic. The descriptions of the natural environment surrounding the big estate of the Duke were really breathtaking.
Yeah.
And there are some descriptions in the book of natural phenomena and all of that. And I think they're just really well done.
Yeah, we liked it.
Yeah, we liked it.
Yeah, it's great. Not too much to say. The positive books are harder to talk about for longer than the shorter books.
Also, since it's so plotty, you don't want to spoil it.
Yeah, this is very spoilery. You could easily give this away, but we recommend this. It's great.
But great,
it's so fantastic.
Very good.
Oh, what would you give it? Rating?
So we decided to rate this 9 out of 10.
Yeah, 9 out of 10.
Yay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, we loved it. Great.
We loved it.
Yeah, 5th book.
The 5th book we read was The Deserters by Matthias Nard, translated by Charlotte Mandel. It is a book originally written in French, and it was published in 2023.
Yep.
It is 224 pages long, so a bit of a short one, this one.
Yeah. And this is one of the more famous books. The author
he's very
has
famous.
lots of popular books, all with Fitzcarraldo editions.
Yeah. And he's very loved.
He is. Not this book so much.
Yeah, people have mixed opinions. Yeah.
They like his debut, they like Zone. Yeah. What's this about?
So this book, it's kind of like 2 novellas that are interwoven. So the first one is this story about this deserter from an unmentioned war, and he's just walking through nature. He is trying to get away, trying to not get caught, and he meets a woman out in
in some
nature.
like house.
House, and I think that's as much as we can say
Yep.
for that. So the second novella, it starts on the 10th of September 2001, when a group of mathematicians meet at a memorial conference remembering this dead mathematician who was also a political activist from East Germany and a Holocaust survivor. So naturally, given the date, a lot of things happened the following day, and essentially it just deals with, what does it deal with? A little bit with mathematics.
I don't know what it deals with.
A little bit with, deals with war.
It's about a lot of things. Yeah, it's about war, it's about desertion, it's about
both
love.
of the main characters are deserters in a way, and different
And how are the novellas, how are they put together?
Oh, they're not.
Yeah, well, they're sort of interleaved. It's like you get a chapter of each until they're both over.
Yeah.
And essentially they're both Each novella is around 100 pages long, so they're both quite
Yeah.
short.
They're independent works as well,
Yeah,
so
pretty much independent
yeah.
works. Yeah, the whole thing relies on you kind of expecting them to link together, but it's not a spoiler to say that they kind of just go their own way
Yeah.
and stay like that.
Yeah, they were written at different points in time.
Yeah,
I
they
think.
were.
Yeah. Okay, so what did you think?
This is tricky. I didn't love this, to be honest.
Yeah,
I
me
thought it was
neither.
quite uninteresting. It was okay to read. You get two very different novellas. They sound different in terms of what they're about, but they're also written quite differently. I think the first novella, the novella In the War, following the man who's deserting, is written a bit more like what I've heard Matthias Anad's style is generally, namely long sentences, sort of flowy, maybe a bit like Jon Fosse, maybe a bit like Krasnauerke, that kind of style. Whereas the second one is told much more conventionally. It's sort of just describing things pretty standardly, normal sentences, normal prose, remembering things. The character is talking about her father, who was this mathematician that we mentioned. Yeah, I don't think they work together really well. I don't think they really fit together. They don't work as a novel. Maybe individually they'd have been okay.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I feel very mixed. I didn't hate it. I didn't like it as
Yeah.
little as The Wax Child, but
It just wasn't a standout.
yeah.
And for me, the main problem, I would say, is that there is so much work out there about the many, many different armed conflicts that have
Yeah.
plagued the world in the last centuries. And this one, it kind of felt like it was mentioning a lot of conflicts. Basically mentions like 5 different wars.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really say anything about them. And the problem is that there is so much already written about all these conflicts that just mentioning them doesn't feel
Yeah.
like enough. It just feels very superficial. It just feels
It's almost
like
name-dropping stuff.
yeah, it just feels
Yeah.
like the comment or the thing that the book is trying to say is like, look, horrible and atrocious things happen, which like, yes, but what do we make of that?
No, it is that. It really does. It's just listing things, you know, like the second the maths novella being set on the 10th of September 2001. It's clear where that goes.
Yeah.
Then it's about the concentration camps and the Holocaust. It's
Yugoslavian
about the
wars.
Yugoslavian wars.
Conflicts
it's
in
about
the Middle
Ukraine.
East.
It's about the Middle East conflict slightly. Then it's about, you know, in divided Berlin. Yeah, it even mentions COVID and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It really is about everything.
Yeah, it's like a salad or something.
It's
a salad of conflicts.
It's like conflict salad. And some of them are clearly more central to the story than the others. Like World War II is a big part of the math story.
Yeah.
We don't know what conflict is part of the desertion story. That's kind of the point. It's
Yeah.
meant to be generalizable in a way, just sort of showing how bad it is broadly.
Yeah.
I liked the style of the desertion novella.
It was well written.
I thought, generally well written, especially the more gritty story. But the other story, the maths novella, did something that I really don't like. This is something that Richard Powers' Goldbug Variations does as well. And actually, I couldn't finish reading that book, my only DNF of last year, for this reason, partly, which is this, it's almost like fetishization of science. I find it so bizarre.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, my problem is that people talk about this book as well as if it's because the second novella is about a mathematician.
Yeah.
People talk about this book as if it were a lot about mathematics, and I would love that, but it really is not. It talks on like a very surface level way about like the twin prime conjecture and stuff like that, but it doesn't really go into it properly. And it just could have been like there are books that properly talk about mathematics. I recently read The Housekeeper and the Professor by Yoko Gawa, which I think is much better at actually talking about the maths that's kind of central to the story. That was a bit of a disappointment.
No, I agree. Here it felt like the maths was almost used as a metaphor to enable, well, not as a metaphor, the mathematician character uses his knowledge of maths to write beautiful mathematical metaphors about love to his lover. That's kind of the extent of a lot of it. And I find that just very kitschy. I don't like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Sort of writing, using maths mainly as this like symbol for the impenetrability of the mind or whatever kind of thing it is.
There's the complexity
It's a
of
bit
everything.
tacky.
Yeah, I would like
Yeah.
more actual maths. What did we think?
What did we think? Yeah, well, for me, as a result of the themes kind of boiling down to war is bad, it kind of caps, it's very middling for me.
Yeah.
I think, do you want to say what you give?
It's like a 4 out
It's
of
like a
10.
4.
Yeah. Even though it's not distinctly atrocious, it's just not really good. Yeah. We were just a bit disappointed. We were hoping we would like it.
Some people might like it. It's written well. It's actually about stuff and it sort of explores some of it, but it's too much in too little and the two stories just don't really go together.
Yeah, but
so I think,
but I mean,
4.
he's obviously a good writer. He writes
I'm
really
curious
well.
to read some of his other stuff,
Yeah.
maybe Zone or Compass.
Yeah, but this one just was a bit of a miss for
Bit of a
us
dud.
both.
Yeah. Okay, 6th book, nearing the halfway point,
Woo woo!
is Whoop Whoop, we're very excited, is Anna Paula Meyer's On Earth as It Is Beneath, translated by Padma Viswanathan. Everyone, me included, keeps wanting to call this On Earth as It Is Between, so maybe that would have been a better and more catchy title instead of this.
Boo.
Boo. Yeah, this is translated from Portuguese. The author is Brazilian. It was originally published in 2017.
Old as well.
Yeah, quite old.
Yeah, a
almost
little
a
bit.
decade as well. And this is the shortest book on the list. It's 112 pages.
Very short, yeah.
Actually less than that if you count the pages of text.
Yeah, so what's it about?
Yes, what's this about? So this is so short. It's basically a thriller. It's like a pop thriller. It's about a penal colony in the middle of nowhere. There's a few inmates left. Everyone else has died. And the last few people are waiting for an official to come and close down the prison for good. And while they're waiting, they're sort of pondering on their experiences in this colony, this prison, and especially their experiences with the prison's warden, who is described as a very evil man, and we see that he is quite evil because every now and then he will take 2 prisoners and let them go free, let them run on their own for 30 seconds away as far as they can get. But once those 30 seconds are over, he'll grab a gun and chase them down and kill them. And that's pretty much it. That's kind of how it goes. But it really is just like a pulp fiction-y thriller,
Yeah.
I think. And you thought what about it?
Okay, so yeah, we did think that it kind of read just a bit like an action book.
Yeah.
I thought it could have been really good as a film, maybe.
It's very descriptive.
It was very it was very like almost cinematic. I think the author writes screenplays as well, so that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, but one problem we had with the well, not with the book, but more so with the blurb, is that it's described as if like every full moon the warden lets all the prisoners out and then
like this
he goes
big group of prisoners.
he goes on a shooting rampage, which is not the case. What he does is that essentially it seems every night he selects 2 of the prisoners and then he hunts those 2 down, and he does like to do it like under the full moon, but it's not only under the full moon that he does it.
The description is pretty much wrong. If you go in expecting what it says on the back of the book to be the plot, you're going to be maybe not disappointed, it's close enough, but it's just not right.
And I mean, aside from that, which isn't really the book's fault,
No, sure.
the one thing that we did find to be a bit of a weakness for this book, which is honestly to be expected because it is barely 100 pages, is the fact that it clearly has ambitions to address really complex and like very important themes. So like slavery and the horrible conditions in prisons and just the prison system, how horrible it is.
Yeah.
Because it's so short, it really doesn't do that. What it does is it mentions those things, but then when it actually comes to developing them in any way or discussing them in any way, it just doesn't do that.
No, it doesn't. And the writing as well, as we said, it's very descriptive, but it also gives no interiority. You kind of don't see, there's no real psychological insights. There's sort of no examination of anything. It's really just, it's properly just a thriller book. You know, it's just
Yeah.
like these things are happening and it's fast-paced. It's like an action movie, essentially.
Yeah.
And it's fun. Like, we both
Yeah.
enjoyed reading it.
It's enjoyable,
it's a
yeah.
fun, quick, easy read. But in terms of substance, it's just a bit, we felt it was a bit lacking.
Yeah, just a bit. Mm. And what did you rate it?
Yeah, we thought it was a bit better than The Deserters, so 4.5. Her
It
other
is
books are meant
fun.
to be better or as good as this. People like her as well. She's
Yeah.
famous as well. But
Yeah.
this, yeah, we just didn't love it. It
Yeah.
doesn't provide much at all.
I mean, it provides entertainment, but
Yeah,
not
sure.
much beyond that.
Provides
yeah.
entertainment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving on to number 7, we read Taiwan Travelogue by Yang Xuanzi, which is
Yay.
translated by Lian King.
We were looking forward to this.
Yeah, we were.
Yeah.
This one is translated from Mandarin Chinese. It was originally published in 2020 and it's 320 pages. This is an interesting book to describe because it is, well, it's a book written in the late 2010s, 2020s,
Yeah.
but it's masquerading as a book from the 1930s. So it kind of has this metafictional element where the author, who is from Taiwan, pretends to be the Mandarin Chinese translator of the book, which is meant to be a Japanese book. And essentially what the Japanese book follows is the story of this very young Japanese writer who goes on a bit of a writing trip to...
Yeah, tour around.
Yeah, tour around Taiwan. And she is guided through Taiwan and the foods of Taiwan by her equally young interpreter, who is originally Taiwanese. So there's that dynamic because obviously at this time Taiwan is under Japanese rule. So that's what we see. And then in the forwards and afterwards we get a bit of a fictional like context as to what happened after the book was released, even though it wasn't released. But yeah,
Yeah,
so
'cause the book apparently was, I think, published in the 50s.
yeah, it was a lost classic or something
exactly.
like that. Yeah, but the main block is basically about the two characters, so the Japanese writer and her interpreter.
Both women.
Them visiting different places in Taiwan. It's about the voraciously hungry Japanese author trying lots of different Taiwanese food and having this kind of fascination with Taiwanese culture. And as we progress, we get to see a bit of a romantic spark between the two characters, but that is very, very soft.
Yeah, very subtle.
Yeah.
Yeah, gentle. Not subtle in a bad way, just very, sweet.
Yeah, very sweet.
Yeah.
So what are our thoughts?
What are our thoughts? We both were looking forward to this.
Yeah.
I'm a sucker for these kinds of metafictional plot devices. I think it's great. And it works here. We really liked
enjoyed it. So a central element of the story is this kind of like food fascination. We are introduced to a lot of typical Taiwanese foods and like versions of them that would have been eaten in the 1930s with like Japanese influence, which personally I thought it was really interesting.
Oh, it makes you so hungry.
But I could see how some people could find it maybe a little bit repetitive.
It was very descriptive, to be fair.
It's very food-centered. The story, even though it is very like quaint and quite just sweet, it has some pretty interesting themes that are explored, and I think they're explored quite well. It's these big themes, these like macro themes that are explored in this like interaction and this relationship between two people. So it's a lot about like colonialism, power dynamics, just kind of like what is socially acceptable for some people but not for other people, and about like mutual understanding and how cultural differences can sometimes make that a bit difficult.
And this bond between the two women who are from these different backgrounds and how sort of their interaction is revealing all of these truths.
Another thing to say, we thought the translation was really good. So the original Mandarin Chinese version of the story already has footnotes explaining some of the more regional things readers typically wouldn't necessarily know about. But then on top of that, Len King added additional translations that just add another layer of insight into the story and into that specific moment in culture in Taiwan. In terms of translation and like the merit of translation, this would be a really great contender for winner because
it's almost perfect for this.
Yeah, because it's just something that where you can actually see very clearly the work of the translator, and the translator really like shines through the
it's almost a book about translation in
it
some
is.
way. It's about translation in the literal sense and the whole sort of metafictional game it's playing, but also translation via sort of like literal translation, like interpretation, that kind of sense. So it would be a perfect winner
that would be
for
great.
this prize. So we'll see.
So what did we rate it?
What did we rate it? We gave it a 9. We thought it was great.
We really loved it.
One of our favorites as well. We thought it was so good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's an
really
easy
great.
read. It's a fun read, and especially a lot of the weight, sort of the thematic, emotional weight, comes from the preface and the afterwords. A lot of the main content is very, very quiet, very slow, very quaint, but a lot of the main stuff comes in from the bits before and after that sandwich it. But I like that structure. I think it works.
Yeah, that was really great.
Well.
Yeah.
The 8th book we read, and the 8th book we're talking about now, is She Who Remains by Renee Karabash, translated by Isadora Angel from Bulgarian. This was originally published in 2018, and it's one of the shorter books at 160 pages. Bit of a disclaimer, we went to a sort of launch event for this book.
We did, yeah.
Yeah, we heard both the author and the translator talk about it and read from it.
Yeah. So we might be
maybe
biased
slightly biased, but we're trying our best not to be.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So this book is set in the Albanian mountains, where a lot of life is still governed by very old cultural norms. And the core story is that of Bakia, who is about to be married in an arranged marriage, and to escape from this marriage that she doesn't want, she becomes a sworn virgin. And in this tradition, that means that she has to shed her womanhood and socially become a man.
Yeah, live as a man.
She takes the name of Mattia. Then the framing device is Mattia years later telling the story of how all this transpired to a journalist. And we find out about the consequences of her decision to become a sworn virgin. We find out about the misfortunes that befell her family after this decision was taken. And we also find out about the missed chances that could have made the life of Mattia a bit different from the way it turned out.
Yeah, it's kind of a book about looking back at the past, reevaluating your decisions, the things that happened, and kind of recontextualizing them.
Yeah. So what do we think?
It's complicated. I have slightly mixed feelings about it.
Me too.
Yeah, it's one of the more, if not the most experimentally written novel on the list. It's written sort of these long sentences, no full stops, most of it at least. There's letters interspersed, so letters written by one character to another character, which are written more conventionally. But the rest of it is quite stream of consciousness-y, this flow of sort of thoughts and feelings and things, as apparently described to the journalist. That's a bit unclear. The journalist is only really mentioned occasionally. It's mostly the stream of consciousness, infrequently interrupted by, do you understand, Mrs. Journalist?
Yeah.
Things like that. But it's mostly just this stream of thoughts.
Yeah. But I think for a very short book, it does achieve what it sets out to do. It does address its themes in an efficient way, and there is plot progression, which sometimes you don't see with shorter books. But ultimately, it's a book that is about the harmful and oppressive nature of cultural and gender norms,
Yeah.
which of course is a worthy topic to discuss naturally. But at the same time, it just felt like maybe there wasn't much new being said about
Yeah.
this. Like
I think so.
it addressed its themes efficiently, but yeah, there just wasn't anything in the book where I was kind of like, oh, that's a new, different way of looking at things.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then for me, another slightly disappointing thing was that in the blurb you hear a lot about the like sworn virgin
course.
tradition in
Yeah.
Albania. However, in the actual book, it's not really. There's not really that much talk of it. It's more so used as kind of like a plot device for the story to kind of like progress a little bit.
I felt similarly. It's interesting because it almost maybe unintentionally sells itself as a book about transness in a sense, and it's not.
It's not really.
It is a queer book, 100%, and it's about also like queer longing and yearning, and it's about the queer experience, 100%. But it's not distinctly about the trans experience, despite the sort of general description of, you know, a woman is kind of forced by these cultural norms to live as a man. That makes you think that it will be about transness, and it's just not.
Yeah.
I think some people might be disappointed by that, and I can totally understand that.
Yeah, but even beyond that, it would have been interesting to just learn more about what the process of becoming a sworn virgin and essentially like socially transitioning entails for people who do decide to do that.
For sure.
And we didn't really get that. We just kind of get the fact that Bekia and then Mattia does that, but not what that actually means for their life.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
It was a bit, maybe thematically, slightly messy or muddy at times, but it did have a structure, and this sounds like the bare minimum, but it does more than that. It did have a proper structure. It did have themes that it explored quite well. It came to a nice resolution. And it's also something that's positive that I liked about it, is it's not ultimately a book about queer suffering. It starts off and you feel that it might be a bit like that, but at the end, it's a lot more hopeful than maybe you expect it will be. So I like that because that's a trope that doesn't really need to keep happening as much as it has been. Yeah.
So what did we rate it?
We gave it, we're sort of stuck between 5 and 6. So I think we're settling for
5.5.
Yeah, but we recommend this. It seems to be getting a lot of traction on social media, and that's great. You know, it's nice to see people reading. Also from Bulgarian, which is a language in which you don't see that many books. There's only been, I think, one notable book
winner,
nominated. Winner of the International Booker. Yeah, we'd recommend it probably, but we just didn't love it maybe as much as some people will.
But I could see how someone else would connect with it more than we did.
It's also kind of you connect with it based on your own sort of experiences and stuff, so maybe it's just an us thing.
Yeah.
Next book, book number 9, is The Witch by Marie Ndiaye, translated by Jordan Stump. This is a French novel, translated from French, originally published quite a while ago. It's the second oldest novel on the list, novella, 1996. And it's also, I think, the second or third shortest at 144 pages. This novel is about a middle-class suburban French housewife with a husband and 2 kids, who herself comes from a line of witches. She's not a good witch. That's kind of one of the central points of the novel. She's very mediocre. She's barely able to tell the future. She can only see glimpses of unimportant events, in contrast to her mother, who was one of the sort of grandest witches of the family, able to predict big-scale events and happenings and things like that. In the novel, the main sort of catalyst of the plot is that the husband leaves the main character right as she initiates her 2 daughters into their witchy powers.
Yeah.
Essentially, the 2 daughters quickly become very formidable witches themselves, able to do much, much, much more than their mother can. Yeah, that's sort of the main thing that happens. She's dealing with the fallout of her family. trying to sort of speak to her parents, getting people back together. It's a bit slow and sort of ploddy. I don't know, what would you say about the plot?
Yeah, so, I mean, the writing style is enjoyable. It's well written.
It's actually one of the better written books on the list,
Yeah,
I would say, on a technical level.
Yeah, it is. On a sentence-to-sentence level, it's very well written. And it is a pretty enjoyable and easy read.
Yeah.
But I will say I did have a few problems with the plot. First of all, I have a problem with the protagonist. I think she is very passive. She doesn't really do anything in the book. She just kind of lets things happen to her, and she doesn't really respond to them emotionally. So we're kind of left guessing what she feels, which is just a bit odd.
It's hard to express how much so. All these sort of big picture things are happening to her, you know, husband leaving, kids kind of becoming witches and then sort of almost abandoning her in a way. But she's just her mental state doesn't change. She seems very, very neutral throughout the whole thing.
Yeah, well then as well, a lot of things happen in this book. It's only 100, barely, it's not even 150 pages, but it honestly feels like a lot of these things don't even leave a mark on the plot. It just feels like they happen, but then it's just kind of like, okay, like that happened. So I guess it's kind of like similar to the way the main character is, but just like ambivalent, that like the things don't really have the impact maybe they should have had. Another slightly disappointing thing is that it seems like this book will be a lot about mother and daughter relationships.
Yeah.
And it's really not. The daughters are not really heavily featured in the books. They're quite like absent.
Because you'd think from the description it would be about sort of a woman, a mother, coming to terms with the fact that her children are becoming adult, are becoming independent, and are also kind of maybe doing things that she's not able to do, both in and out of this whole witch business. But it's not, that's barely a part of the novel.
Yeah, well, it's also barely a book about witchcraft.
No, it is,
Witchcraft is used more so as a sort of a metaphor for like what men find scary about women and how men try to stop women from passing down their like ancestral
womanly
traditions and rituals and all of that. But at the same time, if that was more of the approach of the book, so like witchcraft as a metaphor for other things, I think it could have done that a bit better, and it could have tackled that a bit more straight on, as opposed to what it did, because it feels like you can see that is kind of what it's going for, but it feels a bit muddled as a theme.
Definitely. It feels very of its time. And we said written in 1996, or published 1996. It feels like that. Maybe back then, if you'd read it, it would feel more innovative or more interesting. But now especially, it just has a bit of that neutrality that comes from some books of that time.
A big problem we both had with the book as well is that, contrary to its overall very feminist tone, whenever a character who's a bit of an anti-hero or a bit of an unlikable character is described, there's a lot of fat phobia involved. A lot of the characters are just described in a very like unflattering way.
It's like Harry Potter. Honestly, it's that kind of level of intensity to it. Literally, a character is clearly meant to be demonized, and they're described as sort of fat and repulsive and stuff like that.
And it's just really confusing. That would be the choice, and that's where you really feel its age, the fact that it's 30 years old, because nowadays I don't think that would really be acceptable. Yeah, that just kind of made me feel a bit icky about
I felt the
book.
Same. Yeah, we didn't love this, as is fairly clear, and for that reason, we'd give this a
4 out of 10. Yeah.
Yet another 4.
Yeah, another 4.
I can't say I'd recommend this, really. Also, weirdly, this is the one book that won't have released by the time the shortlist is out in a few days. We actually read this thanks to NetGalley. So thank you, NetGalley and the publisher. But yeah, it's just such a shame, because if this doesn't make the shortlist, or even if this does make the shortlist and it's not available for anyone to read, I feel like it's just sales will suffer, and it's just a shame for those that want to read it.
Yeah, it's a shame for the author, it's a shame for the translator, it's a shame for everyone.
Anyway,
So yeah,
next book.
thanks. Okay, so into the double digits now. The 10th book we read was Small Comfort by Ia Genberg, translated by Kira Josefsson. So this book was translated from Swedish. It was originally published in 2018. It's also a while back.
Yeah.
And it's one of the longer ones at 384 pages.
And this author is the one who was shortlisted 2 years ago
For the details, yeah.
which actually is a more recent novel than this.
Yeah.
This is one of her older, not her debut, I think,
Yeah.
but one of her older novels.
This is the only short story collection that we have seen in the International Booker this year.
But it's not a true short story collection because they were written to be together.
Yeah, the stories intersect and they all follow broadly the theme of money. So
Capitalism.
yeah, so all the stories are quite different and they all have different framing devices. So we hear about an interview of a child actor turned petty thief. We read an email about a company that hired like a hitman to get rid of one of their employees. We listen to a wedding speech given by an actor. We read a research log by a student who's exploring the effects of sudden wealth on people's psychology. And lastly, we witness how a family fakes perfect familial bliss to keep an inheritance. Some of the stories intersect, but it's in subtle ways. It's still short stories, but they do have some kind of subtle through line. So what did we think?
This was fun. I like the structure. I think the stories are kind of nice and self-contained. The linking, like you said, is really sort of brief and short. You can miss it really easily. And it's not essential either. It's like an Easter egg more than anything. It's fun to read because it's not often you read an interview or a research log or something. So it's fun in that sense. Like structurally, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's fun, but it's not immensely memorable.
Yeah. I read the details when it was nominated 2 years ago, and I really loved it. I thought it was really outstanding. It was definitely one of the best ones of that specific year. And now reading Small Comfort and knowing that it was published earlier, I feel that it's definitely more of an immature work of the author. It feels like in the details she really found her voice, whereas at this point she's still exploring different things and trying out whatever works. So yeah, I was hoping to like it a bit more than I did, but it just felt a bit juvenile, I guess.
I actually agree. I've not read the details, but I also felt that it just felt a bit, not half-baked, but just a bit underbaked.
Yeah.
In a way. Like the ideas are interesting and there are themes present and they're sort of explored and it's a bit sort of sarcastic and a bit witty and it's a bit self-aware in how it's doing it, but it doesn't feel like a fully finished product. It doesn't feel like everything really slots into place the way it should, especially with a short story sort of collection or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
They just don't quite culminate in something that's more than the sum of its parts.
Yeah, and the theme of money, it is there, but it's a very subtle central theme. And while it is explored, I don't necessarily think it's explored with great depth. But at the same time, the stories are all well written, they're all entertaining, they're all fun. But yeah, I was just missing that little bit extra for us to be like a proper favorite.
It's a solid book and it's an easy, sort of enjoyable read for anyone who thinks sort of Scandi writing is interesting. And it is very Scandi in a way. It's very dry, it's very unsentimental. It's all of that. And it's done fairly well, but in with regards to sort of the juvenility of it, in regards to the immaturity of it as a work of literature, it's interesting to read some of the interviews Booker Prizes did with the author, because it almost seems from her responses that she also thinks that this is maybe not her most accomplished work of literature. So it's just interesting to sort of see. But we did like it.
Yeah, we did.
It's a good book. We'd recommend it.
Yeah, what
it's
did
just
we rate
nothing
it?
amazing. 6, we said?
Yeah, we said 6.
We said 6.
6 out of 10.
Yeah.
So solid, but
Yeah, solid, but not...
falls a bit short.
Falls a bit short.
Yeah.
The 11th book on this list that we read is Women Without Men by Sharnush Parsipur, translated by Faridun Farokh. And this is an Iranian book, translated from Farsi, and it's currently still banned in Iran and has been since it was released, I think.
In
Originally published,
1989.
1989. The oldest book on this list by a wide margin. It's 128 pages long, one of the shorter ones. And actually the original Farsi novel has 2 translations. This translation that's been nominated here was actually published in the US in 2012. So has been around for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, not unlikely that some people have already read it, which is curious for one of these awards prizes, which typically focuses on sort of newer.
Yeah, new releases.
Yeah.
So what's it about?
What's this about? This is set in the 50s, but the setting is not really super important, especially compared to the other Iranian novel, which was very setting heavy. This is, though, set around the time of the coup d'etat, just for context, in the 50s. This follows, it's also sort of a short story collection, but not really. It follows the stories of 5 women whose lives sort of intersect when they end up living in a garden.
Yeah, and the outskirts of Tehran.
Yeah. Amongst the women represented in the chapters, in the stories, are a school teacher who wants to become a tree, a judgmental young woman and her spinster friend, a wealthy middle-aged housewife with social advancement ambition, and also a sex worker. It's a magical realist novel, but it's primarily focused on sort of representing feminist themes in quite a traditional way. However, it's not traditional for the culture, for Iran, and that's also why it was banned, because it was showing sex work and sex and all these kinds of quite taboo topics in very, very realistic light. And yeah, that's quite abnormal for public literature from that country. Yeah. Thoughts?
So we both thought it was really well written and it was also very emotionally compelling. I mean, as you said, the themes of women's emancipation are still very much relevant to this day, which is really great. The story in itself is very gripping. You just want to keep reading and see what happens to these women, how they end up. I thought the magical realism elements were also really cool.
Yeah. We both really liked that. Some people have described this Longlist as quite magical realism heavy, but actually this is the only book that really conforms to the genre.
Yeah, properly.
Yeah. We liked it. It reads in some ways a bit like Murakami or something like that. It's very traditional magical realism, and it's great. We liked it a lot. Yeah, it was gripping, it was fun, it was interesting. The magical realism really was magical realism. It feels quite symbolic. It doesn't feel like you can unpack it logically. You know, it's not fantasy, it's just something that's happening and it sort of represents something that maybe you can't quite grasp, but you still sort of understand what it means. Unlike the other Iranian novel on this list, which focuses a lot on politics and revolution and that kind of ideological stuff. This, while of course still rooted in that tradition and still sort of set within the confines of religion and all that, this is more about women's rights and stuff like that. So it's just a different focus, and it's nice that the Iranian novels don't really overlap much.
Yeah, it's good that they are not dealing with the same time in history.
Yeah, no, you could read both and come away with different things.
Yeah.
But this, I think, even more so than the other one, this is not really about Iranian history, but you also don't need to know it to read this. It has its own, it's a bit like Heartlamp and Reservoir Bitches from last year mashed together and kind of better than both. So this was great. We both really liked this.
Yeah, so we really loved it. We rated it an 8 out of 10. So yeah, very good, very enjoyable read.
Yeah, we liked it.
Yeah. Okay, so book number 12 for us was Are Green and Trembling by Gabriela Cabezón Cámara, which was translated by Robin Myers.
You read this in Spanish.
Yes, so it's Spanish from an author from Argentina. I read the original Spanish version, which is a way worse title. It's called Las Niñas del Naranjal, which is like the Girls of the Orange Grove, which is
I think the author even said she prefers the English title to the Spanish one.
So it's published in 2023 and it's 208 pages long, so short and snappy.
Feels longer though.
Yeah, it feels...
This is one of the short ones that feels longer.
Yeah. It does. So basically, the story follows Antonio, who is in the wilds of South America, and he's writing a letter to his aunt, who is in the Spanish convent that he once ran away from when he was a young girl. And in this letter, it's kind of a bit of a confessional letter. He details and he describes all the bad things he's done in hopes of forgiveness, I guess, in hopes of absolution. Simultaneously, we learn about what is going on with him at the moment, and what's happening is that he is hiding in the wilderness with two indigenous girls and a bunch of animals, as he freed the girls from enslavement once he deserted the military camp he was a part of. So those are kind of the two main things that happen in the story.
Yeah. Based on the real life of this real non-conquistador
person.
And apparently the letters you described are sort of paraphrasing and summarizing this person's sort of autobiography that they wrote as well, sort of going through all the major the major points of that. But then most of the rest of the novel is fictional. Yeah.
So in terms of our opinion on the book, I thought the prose in Spanish was really good. It was very evocative and just really beautiful to read.
Yeah.
In English?
In English, similar. I think the prose was great, but I had a rough time reading it. I don't know why. I don't know if I just struggled to get into it, read it at a weird time, weird headspace. I don't know what it was, but I just thought it was just a bit intense and a bit messy, and it was a bit hard to keep track of what was going on. It was very, very sensory, very impenetrable, and I think that was largely intentional, but it felt like I was just like kept at arm's length in a way that really frustrated me and made it a bit tricky to read. I don't know if the Spanish was like that too.
Well, for me, my problem with the Spanish was just that I enjoyed reading it, but at the same time, I didn't want to keep reading it. It just felt a bit like a chore to keep reading it, whereas with a lot of the other books on the long list, I just wanted to keep reading and find out what was going on. So like, I don't know why, maybe it is just kind of like the structure.
It was a bit boring at times, oddly. Like it could feel a bit like things were happening and things were described quite vividly, but also the ambiguity of these descriptions combined with sort of a lot of repetition could make it just a bit taxing, a bit boring to read. It was not a page turner compared to some of the other books.
Yeah, definitely not. And then it touches on some really interesting themes of mistreatment of indigenous people in South America, and also just the broad theme of the preservation of nature and the natural world. However, I didn't think that was necessarily saying anything super new about these topics. Like it did its job, but it didn't really blow me away.
No, same for me. I thought it was good. You know, I liked it. I just didn't think it was great, and I was expecting to really like it. I was expecting to think it was fantastic, and it's just not quite. I think a lot of people will struggle reading this and will find it a bit difficult maybe, but at the end of the day, I don't think the difficulty is hiding some secret that, you know, needs to be unveiled. It's really just sort of difficulty for its own sake. Not trying to be difficult, but it just doesn't lead anywhere really interesting. So I don't know if I'd say it's worth it for those that don't vibe with the beginning.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not completely sure. Also, weirdly similar to
She Who Remains.
She Who Remains, thanks. This gives the vibe based on the description, you know, nun turned conquistador, female to male, gives the vibe of being at least partly about the trans experience or saying something about that aspect. And again, it's just not. It's kind of, it's not even a plot point. That's something that's happened a long time in the past. And the character effectively just is a man, which is its own kind of trans representation, of course. You know, not saying much about it, but just showing trans people as people that can live lives
As
that
conquistadors.
as conquistadors, you know, massacring natives.
Yeah.
Maybe not the best representation, but I don't know. It's not really a trans novel,
Yeah.
sort of. Yeah.
So what did we rate it?
I don't know. In light of everything, it's solid.
It's good.
One of
but
the better
it's
ones
just-
on the
yeah.
list. It's just not what we hoped.
Yeah.
So I think we said 6.5.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
have really high expectations.
We
to be
did,
fair.
we
Yeah,
did.
we thought it would be great.
Thought it would be amazing.
Yeah.
And it ended up being good. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hooray! Final book.
Yay!
Hooray,
Final book.
Wow. And the last book we read is also the longest book. The last book we read is The Remembered Soldier by Anya Danje, translated by David McKay. This is Dutch, set in Belgium, but written in Dutch and Dutch author as well. Originally published in 2019, so not the oldest, but also not super recent. And this is pushing 600 pages, by far the longest on the list.
Yeah.
And it's also, it's quite dense.
Yeah,
it's quite long, it's quite dense, it's quite slow.
It's like almost 600 like fully packed pages.
Yeah, this is one of the war novels we mentioned. This is sort of set a few years after World War I, follows a soldier who's lost his memory and is kept in, or is living in, an asylum. The asylum is sending out sort of information for people to come and try to find family they lost, or soldiers they lost in the war. And one woman comes, sees this protagonist, and sees in him her husband, who she thought had perhaps died in the war, died or been lost. And she identifies him correctly based on a scar on his head, takes him home, and reintroduces him to the life that they had before he was drafted and went off to war. And what you get out of this is sort of this weirdly uncomfortable and then surprisingly passionate domesticity, where these two people who are essentially strangers due to his memory loss, kind of getting closer to each other, but then also drifting apart and coming back together. It's a lot of up and down, and all the while the character is having flashbacks to the war and is trying to remember who he was, and is also at times doubting that this woman who claims to be his wife is who she is.
Yeah.
So great concept, like super cool. And it's less of a war novel than it might sound. It's primarily
A romance.
kind of a romance novel.
Yeah.
It's a novel also about identity, about memory, about sort of how to make yourself, you know, like who you are as a person, how to find who that is, identity. And it's a romance, essentially, between these two people who may or may not have been married before the war. What did you think?
Well, I thought it was really, really well written. The themes it tries to address, it addresses really well. So things like memory, identity, trauma, war, all of that is really, really strong. It, at times, especially when you get the flashbacks to the war, it can be very grim, depressing, but it also has moments that are really light and really lovely.
Yeah, and emotional at
and
times.
emotional,
Surprisingly, quite emotional. The writing's interesting. You said it's well written. I think so too. It's written in these long, not very long, but reasonably long sentences, sort of big blocks of paragraphs. Most of the sentences and paragraphs starting with "and." So it's lots of these sort of run-on, and then this, and then this, and then this, sort of listing things. And it really makes sense for this character who kind of doesn't know who he is, doesn't know, he's kind of this newborn man in a way, trying to reconfigure himself in this life that he's been put in.
Yeah.
So the writing is great for that. It's very reflective, it's slow-paced, the book, but it turns into quite a page-turner.
Yeah.
It becomes quite exciting. There's plot twists and plot turns, not as intensely as with The Duke, but on a more minor scale, this is that. I really liked it as well. Much more romantic than I thought.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but I didn't mind that.
I guess the only slight criticism we would have about this book would be the fact that in some of the middle sections, it feels like a lot of the conflict between the two characters is slightly repetitive. So there's
can be
kind of the same conflict structure a few times, where there's a bit of a misunderstanding followed by some awkwardness and then a resolution where everything becomes clear, and just that kind of felt like maybe it could have been a bit condensed, but
I think so too.
need to.
It's hard to say a book should be shorter, and especially with lists like this, where most books are so short, I tend to say that books should be longer. But this book is one of those where it deserves its length, it should be long, it works, it makes sense for the context of it, but maybe 50 to 100 pages could have been cut, and you just kind of lose just a bit of the tedium of the sort of mid-late parts. But it's nothing major. It just gets a bit repetitive with the same kind of cycles of things happening again and again. But it's still interesting sort of and enjoyable to read despite that.
Yeah.
The ending. Oh, the ending's great.
Yeah. I mean, no spoilers naturally,
No.
but the ending really wraps up the story very well, and it really kind of brings in all of its central themes together, and I feel like it's a very reaffirming story, and it's very moving.
It is very moving. And the ending's just great. It really ties it together perfectly. So we give it, you give it,
we give it 8.5 decided out of 10.
High. We liked it.
Very high. We really loved it.
We really recommend it.
Yeah.
It's fantastic.
Yeah, we ended on a high note.
For sure.
Yeah.
And that's it. Well,
yeah, wow.
Those are the books. High five. Wow, bam.
Wow.
We've been practicing. Actually, no, that was first take. Yeah. Now we'll rank them.
Yeah.
In the next section.
Let's rank them.
Predict the shortlist.
Yes.
And
wrap up.
That's that.
Yeah.
So yeah, see you in a sec. Wow.
Wow.
Chatted a while there.
Yeah.
It's dark now.
Yeah. Got dark. Warm toned.
Need to film this earlier next time. Next year we'll do it earlier. We'll start early, and the three of us will, whoever the third is.
Yeah, I'll find someone.
We'll find someone.
Yeah, so now that we have reviewed all the books that we read for this long list, let's now rank them to get like a big picture of what we think.
You want to go first? So our least favorite book was...
Unsurprisingly, it was unfortunately The Wax Child. That said, I would still like to read something else by the author because
The Employees sounds
I
great.
feel like her work does have potential. Okay, so what is the 12th book?
12th book is The Witch. Not a good year for witchy books.
No,
Sorry.
which book's at the bottom?
Yeah.
11th we have The Deserters, which just the two separate novellas and the like surface level themes just didn't do it for us, to be honest. It's a bit of a disappointment, but again, an author we would like to try to read more from.
It's just these books just didn't really work for us. It's just us. It's probably us. It's probably an us problem and not a book problem.
And what's the 10th book?
Okay, the 10th book is On Earth as It Is Beneath. Just a bit underwhelming, more of a like pop thriller than it was anything else. Lacked the substance you'd kind of hope for in a book nominated for an award like this. But I think people will like it. Her work is popular. But yeah, we didn't love it. 10th, after 10th comes 9th. 9th is...
She Who Remains.
Yeah.
Which, there was nothing wrong with it. It was a really solid book. It just didn't connect with us. That's what the midpoint is. Just like things that don't...
Yeah. And it's firmly in the middle.
Yeah.
Like, it's not at all a bad book.
Yeah.
Parts of it we liked, I liked. I'm not going to talk for you. Parts of it just didn't really work for me fully. Overall, I thought it was okay. It's like broadly on the positive side of neutral, but...
Yeah, and number 8? Number 8.
Here we have Iranian book number 1, The Nights Acquired in Tehran.
Yeah.
We sound more and more depressed as we're going on, but we're actually going up, so this is getting better. Yay.
Yay.
This was okay. We started with it, it set the tone.
Yeah, we liked it.
And it was fine.
We liked it. It was solid. Yeah.
Okay, number 7.
Small Comfort. It was good, it was enjoyable, but it wasn't as good as it could have been.
And also, like the previous book, and almost like the next book, it's just not fully complete in a way. Like, it feels like a finished book, but it just doesn't feel like it's been taken to where it would need to be.
Yeah.
Number 6?
6, you say it?
I say it.
I think so.
We Are Green and Trembling. This we liked.
Yeah, we really liked it.
Yeah, we thought this was good.
It was well written.
And this would be, this is the start of our shortlist, basically.
Yeah.
If we were to make a shortlist, this would be the first book
I would just make
on that
it,
list. It would just squeeze in. It's almost tied for me with Small Comfort.
Yeah, I felt
think,
quite similarly about
yeah,
them
you too, huh?
Yeah.
Slightly more interesting thematically, but just not fully what I wanted from it. But I liked it.
Yeah.
It was good. 5th?
Women Without Men.
And
this one we really loved. We thought it was so good.
I not like it so much. Somehow.
Yeah, we just
really.
often don't connect with really short books.
Yeah, it's tricky. There's just so little to love.
But this one was really great.
This was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, really good.
Okay, number 4.
Number 4 is The Remembered Soldier. Yeah, we like this. Now the next few, our personal sort of individual rankings were almost the same apart from these top few. And we had them just between spots, 2 and 4. We kind of had them jumbled around slightly.
Yeah.
But we've agreed on a consensus.
Yeah.
And I think Remembered Soldier in 4th is like solid. It was great. It's not perfect, but it's very readable. It's like explores themes that are not only interesting, but also well developed and kind of complex and sort of, yeah, I don't know. I think we've said enough about it. We liked it.
3rd, we have The Duke, which was a really fun page turner, and it had some really great themes, and we both really loved it. Yeah. This could have also been number 2, but we just decided to put it like this because...
No, we thought The Duke was great.
Yeah.
All the long books are at the top of our list. If you've not noticed yet, we favour the longer book. Speaking of which, second place. Second place is Taiwan Travelogue, which is... We just loved it. It was great. It was so very heartwarming. That's one word we didn't say before, I think.
Heartwarming,
Very heartwarming. It's very sweet. Really makes you want to eat food. It's so appetizing. I know, we're going to eat right after this. Then, our top book...
Yes,
is...
The Director.
The Director, hooray.
The second book we read. It was really good. It was very complex. It was very well thought out, and we just really loved it.
This will be many people's favorite, I think.
I think so. I think it's just such a good book.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's rare for such a... It's a very popular book, it seems.
Yeah, very, very popular.
He's famous, of course. He's one of the main German language writers at the moment, sort of literary fiction. It's rare for such a sort of commercially viable, sort of for the masses book. And it's not fully for the masses, but for this kind of mainstream appeal book to also be so literary and thematically interesting and complex, but it really succeeded on all those fronts.
It really did, yes.
So yeah, that's our ranking, 1 to 13. Now you know our shortlist.
Yeah, well, we would be happy with any of the books from our top 5 winning, honestly. No complaints at all. But now, what do we actually think will make the shortlist?
Okay. Actually, maybe we're being too ambitious here.
Yeah.
But we kind of are expecting a lot of overlap of the actual shortlist with our top 6.
Yeah,
Mostly.
we hope so.
We hope so,
yeah.
But we also kind of... I don't know why. We're trying to be neutral about predicting the shortlist. Yeah. What do you think?
So, first of all, The Director has just been such a success, and I think everyone who has read it has really enjoyed it. So we do think it will make it into the list.
People also are saying that it's a very timely book, despite being so World War II centric, because it's kind of also about, in a way, of sort of Trumpism and sort of the rise of censorship and like fascism in the West again. And that's probably true. Yeah, we think it is likely to make the shortlist.
Yeah. Second?
We think The Remembered Soldier as well.
Yeah, makes sense. So. They're both just very ambitious books. Probably the 2 most ambitious out of the list, I'd say.
And successful.
Yeah.
They both succeeded.
Yeah.
At what they wanted to do. So successful ambition. And also it's fun. Despite being long, it has mass appeal, I think, The Remembered Soldier. Really the only thing stopping someone from reading it, I think, might be the length. Everything else about it is very sort of appealing.
People also don't like the war stuff.
Yeah, maybe the war stuff. But it's not a war novel.
Yeah, no, it's not.
And I think if that becomes clear, it's really about identity, memory, and sort of love.
Yeah.
Next.
We think She Who Remains is going to make the shortlist.
We do think so.
Because it has resonated with a lot of people. It's made quite a splash. Yeah. It's one of the few minority languages. And it's been spoken really favorably about. And honestly, it would make a lot of sense for it to make the shortlist, to be honest. Yeah, I mean...
This is the main diversion from our personal top 6 ranking. We replaced it with The Duke. The Duke we just don't think will make.
It just feels like I would really like it to make the shortlist, and I would also even like it to win. But it just feels like no one has been talking about it.
Yeah.
So it just seems like such an underdog. To be fair,
Well then, 3 left in our predictions.
Yeah, next.
Women Without Men, we think. I think it has the sort of Iranian factor, which is a big deal at the moment.
Yeah.
And it's also just a great book. Yeah. A bit whimsical. It's quite enchanting. You can easily get sucked in. And it's also strong in the themes. And It's short and easy.
Then the next one we think that will make the shortlist is Taiwan Travelogue. I mean, mainly we think this because it's such a translation book that I just think it would make a lot of sense for it to be on the shortlist.
It's almost perfect for this prize.
Yeah, it's a very, I mean, both this and our last one won the National Book Award for translated fiction.
Yeah, they did
so
in the US.
I guess we're probably like cheating a bit by saying this. But yeah, the translation of it is such an important part of the story that it just naturally feels like that should maybe be celebrated.
I'd be shocked if this isn't on the list. And then our last prediction, the lowest on our personal ranking, in terms of our personal shortlist, is Are Green and Trembling.
I mean, again, it's a book that has complex prose that takes a lot of expertise to translate, and I think that will make it a great contender for the shortlist.
It's very literary. It is interesting. It has sort of fairly strong, sort of modern, positive messaging.
Yeah.
But it's also quite literary in its writing. Could be described as beautiful, I guess. If you really get into the flow of it, I think it is. If you don't, I think it'll just be a bit tricky. But part of the book is written in indigenous language spoken by one of the tribe to which the two of the girls belong. And that's interesting. That's quite novel. And it's untranslated, so you kind of almost learn parts of the language through the novel, which is a cool feature.
So I feel like having that, I think the judges could like appreciate that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's our shortlist prediction.
Yay!
Yeah, let's see.
We finished it.
Not long to see until we find out. Well, thank you for watching the video.
Thank you for watching.
Wow.
Yay.
Yeah.
What a fun journey it's been.
Yeah, if this gains traction, we'll be back next year for sure. It can be a yearly thing.
Or even if it doesn't gain traction.
Even if it doesn't, even if no one watches this, we'll be back next year.
Because it'll be fun.
Probably. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't watch this.
Well, if someone's watching this, then that
maybe they skip to the end
means
for Easter eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, well. Like, subscribe, comment. Let us know if you read any of them. We read all the comments. I don't know.
We have like 2 comments maybe.
Yeah, there'll be like 2 comments, but we'll read both. No, we want to hear from people if you've watched this far. Even if not, like, thanks for watching. And we'll be back at some point.
Yeah.
Probably.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.